Hello and welcome to TA for Traders. It's Thursday the 5th of October and I'm Nigel Croft. In this video we'll be looking at two UK stocks and two US stocks. All the charts look slightly bearish. What we'll be looking at in the UK is SSE, the old Southern and Scottish Electric. We'll then move on to Centrica. Both shares have been hit by Theresa May's speech yesterday regarding price caps on the power market in the UK, and technically they both look bad. We'll then move over to the US and we'll look at Yum Brands. I think they're coming out with figures this week. Anyway, technically I expect some short-term downside. And then we'll look at Nike, NKE, which came out with figures last week and looks like the shares are going to fall further. Let's look at those charts. So starting with Southern and Scottish, so SSE, and this is the weekly, so each candle here represents 1 week's trade, and you can see that we're in a downtrend. The low this week has confirmed that downtrend position. The middle of the downtrend is perhaps just in between the 20 and the 50-week moving averages. They're both tracking downwards, and there's negative momentum as well. The RSI in a downtrend, presently below 50, 39.88, and so technically the position does look negative. There is slight support down at the 1350 level, which was the lows from February, when there was actually a double bottom on the RSI before the rally. But at the moment, that doesn't look like it's going to hold given the downside momentum and the fact that the RSI as well have now rolled down. They're below zero. Short term has moved below the longer term, and that's just started to shout a sell signal as well. On the daily, you can see that yesterday's move has continued the downward move on the moving averages. The 20 has just crossed the 50 in a downward direction, which is a bearish cross, and will push this stock lower. Today you can see there's a lot of uncertainty. We've got quite a wide range, but the open and where we are at the moment are very close, so the uncertainty creating a doji that's negative as well. MACD, the short term just moved below the longer term, which is a sell signal, and they're both below zero, with the RSI indicative of negative momentum, 40.13, and the low yesterday was below the previous low as well. Moving on to the 4 hour, and excuse me, I'm just going to cough. Excuse me. And you can see that the picture here looks negative as well. All the moving averages are tracking down. There was negative bearish crosses on the 20 crossing the 50. That was in the middle of September, 15th of September, and they would create any resistance to any upside. RSI, I don't think we've lowered yet, so I'm not looking at this potential non-confirmation, but I do expect the next 4 hours probably to be lower, and so that to move down again. On this fall, one would hope that for the bears that the RSI goes back below 26.87, the previous low. It's presently at 38.37, and the MACD have just started to flash a sell signal as well. Okay, moving on to Centrica. Here we are on the weekly, and you can see that we've been pushed down by the 20-week moving average. We've fallen through the supports. We're definitely in a downtrend, and there's very negative momentum. The RSI down at 28.52. MACD as well are flashing a sell with the short term below the longer term and below zero. The only possible redeeming factor is maybe we're becoming slightly oversold on this weekly, which may create a short-term bounce, but overall the technical picture looks bearish. On the daily, we're not yet at levels where we'd say we're very oversold. The RSI is down at 29.88. Again, we're being pushed down by the moving averages. There was a bearish cross on the 20 and the 50 on the 8th of August, and just on Tuesday we went above the 20-day, but it's pushed us back down again. And really, one would expect any rally to find quick resistance from the 20-day and expect further downside with this RSI able to go lower. Again, the MACD, the short term just gone below the longer term, indicative of a sell signal. And on the 4 hour, again it's all negative. There's no sign of any non-confirmations on the RSI. That's down at 28.44. It did previously get down to a low of about 21.5, so there is further downside. MACD are all negative, moving averages all negative. I'll take a quick break to have a cough, and then we'll come back with some US stocks. Okay, here we are on Yum Brands. You can see from this is the weekly, so each candle represents 1 week. We are trading round about the 20-week moving average. However, there's negative momentum now come into this market. You can see that the RSI is cracked down. It is still above 50, 56.45. But the MACD have rolled as well and are shouting a sell. This stock needs to get back above that 20 week at 74.56, or there could be further downside. Looking at the daily, you can see that there's now been a bearish cross as the 20 crosses the 50. And we've got negative momentum with a downtrend on the RSI, and it's back below 50 at 41.48, and the MACD's confirmation of that. You can see that the support from the 5th of July did hold this week. That's a key support. The exact level of it is 72.38, so please be aware of that level. We closed this week at 72.61, so we were above it, which is a good sign, but that 61 becomes 72.61 is the key, and that level from the 6th of July is the second key. Be aware of those. The way the moving averages are moving, one would expect those to be tested again. On the 4 hour picture, you can see that we've come back below the 200 average. The 20 and 50 again created a bearish picture as they both crossed moving down, and now the 20 is bearing down on the stock price. That's the short-term factor that needs to be watched, and I would suggest that that's going to push the Yum share price lower. The RSI has bounced somewhat, trying to create an uptrend, but it is below 50, and the MACD confirmed that we're in a downtrend with a short-term well below zero. But be aware, that there's a slight turn there with the short-term now above the longer term. So keep your eye on that. But I would expect if this 24 hour average pushes us back down, that will push the RSI back down, and you'll see the MACD flatline very shortly. And moving on to the last stock for today, which is Nike. And you can see from the weekly that we're testing the 200-week moving average, which is this red line. That's presently at 51.323. That's a key level. We did bounce from it last week, but it does look like it's going to be tested again. We're below the 20 and the 50. In the next couple of weeks, the 20-week will cross below the 50. The market is showing negative momentum. You can see the RSI in a downtrend, and that's presently at 42.11. And the MACD, the short term, has now gone below zero, so again indicating a downtrend is in situ. On the daily, you can see that we're at the supports that held on the 16th of June and 18th of May. There was a double bottom there, then we gapped up, but unfortunately we gapped back down. No double bottom potential here. That's a key support level. Be aware of that. Given the negative momentum, RSI in a downtrend, 38.03. The MACD short term is still below the long term. One would expect that 51 support to be tested. Oh, and finally moving on to the 4-hour picture on the on Nike, and you can see that the 20 has crossed the 50 in a bearish pattern. We did have the 50 crossing the 200 in another bearish picture. That was on the 12th of September. So all the technicals are pointing down. Again, we're in a downtrend, and again the MACD are below zero, and the short term below the longer term. Right, that was quite painful. Sorry, 4 stocks and they all look negative. Sorry about that. I just thought I'd change it slightly. It's usually, obviously, I show you stocks where I think the technicals look good, but today I've shown you charts that I think the technicals look bad. So in the UK, we looked at SSE, then we looked at Centrica, CNA, and then in the US, we looked at Yum Brands, code YUM, and we looked at Nike. All the charts look negative. I'm now going to go and get a cup of tea and start smiling again. Thanks for watching the video. Please remember these videos are for information only and my opinions, and they're not meant as an investment recommendation. Please read the disclaimer.